Côte d'Ivoire 2025 presidential elections. Can we say that the West African country is undergoing the process of political polarization, which is, of course, breeding uncertainty? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another edition of the program. It is a discursive program, Global Insider. And today, our focus is on the election calendar of Côte d'Ivoire, as Ivorians will be heading to the polls come October 25th, 2025. And we ask pertinent questions during this discursive program proposed to you by Globals. And to note that incumbent President Alassane Ouattara seeks a fourth term after 2020 constitutional changes. It is often and very clear that there is some sort of political division which has deepened not just among the opposition, but across the entire continent, the entire country of La Côte d'Ivoire. Key opposition figures, including former President Laurent Gbagbo, Charles Blé Goudé, and a main opposition figure Tidjani Thiam, and among others, brought from the 25th October 2025 polls. Frustration, of course, among Ivorians pertaining the elections, and especially as regards Ouattara's candidacy. A new stage emerges in Côte d'Ivoire, and we're asking the question if it will be actually a new contest between the Ouattara-led administration and the new face in the electoral race, that is Don Melo. And how will these or the upcoming or impending presidential elections in Côte d'Ivoire shape the political future, economic, diplomatic, social, and geopolitical future of the country? And notably, Côte d'Ivoire is at the fore as it gains for the upcoming presidential elections. On October 25th, 2025, President Alassane Ouattara stands along other eligible candidates, including former First Lady Simone Gbagbo. We have our Don Melo, among other political contenders, as tension actually increases across the West African states. Therefore, this edition of Global Insider, alongside with a panel of experts, seeks to dive into the complexities that now define the current political climate or landscape of Côte d'Ivoire, going to examine how historical contexts have led us to the present stakes, especially around the political sphere in Côte d'Ivoire. We equally seek to evaluate the socio-economic conditions that, however, intersect with the political dynamics, and dissecting as well the geopolitical influences at play. Our objective, of course, is to bring a broader understanding of the political sphere or scope of the Côte d'Ivoire, and how it is shaping not just the politics of this country, but how it is affecting the African continent as a whole. And it is on Global Insider that we are going to analyze that with an esteemed panel of experts to give us insight and the real stakes or statistics patterning the event running up to the October slated presidential elections. Without much ado, we go straight away to saying a warm welcome to Dr. Eddie Eric, a global analyst and executive secretary of the Committee of Actions for Côte d'Ivoire, of course, joining us from the United States of America. Welcome to the program this day, Dr. Eddie.
My pleasure, Clarice, to be with you. Good evening on your side, and all my respects to the listeners of this program.
And it's a pleasure having you this day as we continue to dissect or seek to dissect the real stakes at play regarding the political scope of Côte d'Ivoire. We also welcome Mr. OKOSSISSI BABANICO, a political analyst, joining Global Insight platform for the first time. It's a pleasure having you this day, sir.
Pleasure is mine. I'm going to greet my patriot, Mr. Dr. AD, JD, and yourself and your team. I'm very happy to see that in Africa we have the greatest radio or TV web to follow us, help our people to go out of those liars against Africa. Our pleasure is mine to be with you.
And we're looking forward to having a very constructive discussion that will help not just the people of Côte d'Ivoire, but then to widen the horizon, especially along political lines across the African continent. And with pleasure, we acknowledge the presence of ARNAUD, political consultant and international lawyer, joining us from Moscow, Russia. Welcome to Global Insiders Day, dear ARNAUD.
Hello, Clarice. Thank you for having me. I hope to have a productive conversation today.
Indeed, looking forward to having a very insightful conversation as we look at the stakes of the political stakes of Côte d'Ivoire, knowing the place of the country in shaping not just the political dynamics of the country, but across the African continent as a whole. We're going to go straight away to the first statement that speaks holistically about the present status quo of the Ivory Coast leading up to the October slated elections. And we ride off with you, Dr. Adi, which we seek to understand if actually there is a political polarization in the country and how they can navigate this to avert the history from repeating itself.
Political polarization, yes, there is in Côte d'Ivoire. The current stakes, of course, is the presidential election slated for October 2025, as you stated in your introduction. However, we are poised to see a repeat of a contentious electoral process due to a number of violations, either of the constitutions or even of international protocols that Côte d'Ivoire signed. What is most polarizing, what these latest days, are the fact that, what the electoral roll, what we call, what the voters list has not been, clearly, audited. Opposition parties, will claim with substantial facts that you have quite a number of fraud of people who are not supposed to be on that list, who are in there. That's number one. And number two, we have talked, at length about the number of significant political leaders who are currently excluded from this electoral roll, which means that, they will be also barred from running from for the presidential election. You talk about former President Laurent Gbagbo, you talk about, Mr. Soro Guillaume, you talk about Charles Blé Goudé, you talk about, what the president of the PDCI, RDA, Tidiane Thiam, and you also talk about, quite a number of other people who may not be as prominent as those that, what we just named, who are not a part of the ballot. And then to cap all that, you have the announcement made on July the 29th by the incumbent, head of state, Mr. Alassane Dramane Ouattara, that he will be seeking, another term. No matter how this is presented as the second term of the Third Republic of whatever it is in clear violation of the Constitution of Côte d'Ivoire, which again is mounting the tensions in this country. And Clarisse, I want to also add that, what the political landscape itself is also very tense at the moment, because this regime in power since 2011, and we know how it emerged into power after a rebellion that, lasted from 2002 to 2010, a post-electoral crisis between December 2010 ending in April 2011, and the forceful intervention of France. Since its eruption, of course, into power, this regime, the one of Mr. Alassane Ouattara, has control, or if you want, stifle, opposition and stifle anything that can be political dissent. So this is the global political atmosphere in country made of arrests of political leaders, young political leaders and all that, which is the leading, unfortunately, to 2025. If nothing is done, we are all certain that we are also going to witness another period of violent crisis in Côte d'Ivoire, which is not and will not be good for the entire West Africa. As we look at what happened in Ghana successfully, we look at what is about to happen in Benin, another success of a political transition. We look at what happened in Senegal. We look at what happened in Liberia with a successful transition in power, and Côte d'Ivoire is going to be another choking point in there, looking like more of a political coup. Clarisse, this is what I want to say, as an opening speech, presenting what is at stake in Côte d'Ivoire. Basically, it is a political situation, it is a political stability, and it is also the political stability of West Africa in general.
Absolutely, and it's going to shape a whole lot across the African continent. Understanding the context will help us to better situate the position of Ivory Coast to itself and even for the entire continent, while noting that, like we underline in the preamble, that the opposition is largely in division patterning. The people that actually had some alignment with former President Laurent Gbagbo, and how is this going to shape the outcome of the October slated polls? With you, ARNAUD DEVELAY, as an international political consultant, very keen and conversant of the political landscape of Côte d'Ivoire. What do you think, in your own holistic perspective, are those major stakes that will shape the upcoming elections, and how can this be navigated to avert the repeat of what happened in 2010, pertaining the post-electoral crisis?
Yes, well, I would inscribe my intervention in the prolongement of what Dr. Eddy said. I would only add that in the context of the emancipation of the AES countries from French tutelage, Côte d'Ivoire, and especially bearing on the circumstances, historical circumstances, recent history, going back to 2002, with the exacerbation of the crisis in 2010 to 2011, shows that Ouattara is the only game in town. It looks as if more than anything else, France is going to rely heavily on his re-election, because this is the anchor point for French, I wouldn't say control, but hopes to retain a measure of influence in West Africa. Yeah. And so, unfortunately, I'm not too optimistic about a transparent election. I think the prior election cycles, 2010, 2011, of course, but also 2015 and 2020 show that there's always been a lot of trouble spot as far as the re-election of Mr. Ouattara. We recall his statements bearing on the fact that he would be willing to step down only if his generational rivals were to do so as well and leave the room to a new generation. Absolutely. Well, obviously that time hasn't come yet, and it looks as if, to the extent, and he's now 82 years old, but to the extent he can, he's the only game in town again. He's a trusted, what I say, a proxy, not only of France, but also of the US. He has a long US training behind him. So he's a trusted man. He's a trusted man like Omar Bongo, like some African heads of state who have, really participated for a long time, decades, in reinforcing a certain idea of neo-colonial control over the continent. Yeah. To illustrate that point, actually, it's interesting to note that in the context of the rotation that is supposed to take place at the UEMOA, l'Union économique et monétaire ouest africaine. Normalement, le Burkina Faso aurait dû assumer donc la position de chair, et que visiblement, il semblerait que M. Ouattara se soit mis en avant pour empêcher le Burkina et donc forcément l'influence panafricaine que le Burkina apporte avec elle,
yeah.
de présider ce groupement d'États africains. Et je pense que quelque part, ça résume bien la situation. C'est qu'il y a d'un côté le vieux doyen d'un ordre révolu et de l'autre un jeune capitaine qui apporte un vent nouveau et à qui on barre la route essentiellement.
Mm-hmm. And that brings us to the problematic of uncertainty as a result of political polarization. Do we expect change in Ivory Coast come October 2025 in the same perspective with you, Mr. OKOSSISSI BABANICO, a political analyst, very engaged in the political affairs of your country. Do you think the upcoming impending elections, given that key opposition figures have been barred from contesting these polls, and also how the candidacy of Alassane Ouattara is shaping a more political landscape or polarized political landscape in Côte d'Ivoire?
Thank you, Lady Clarisse, and appreciate the way my colleagues on the table use and explore the Côte d'Ivoire matters.
Yeah.
Let us just say that, like ARNAUD DEVELAY said, I'm not optimist seeing Ivory Coast going to electional race, because the man who is on top of the power, called Alassane Ouattara, all Africa knows, and international people knows how he stepped up. Alors, it was during a rebellion who claimed to put Alassane Ouattara in the racing of electoral matters in 2000. And because he was not legally apt to raise the election, he provoked on background some African leaders inside ECOWAS, some UN leaders, UN friends, talking about Nicolas Sarkozy for France, and before Nicolas Sarkozy, Mr. Chirac, and after Mr. Nicolas Sarkozy, Mr. Hollande, and now Mr. Macron.
Yeah.
Mr. Alassane Ouattara, in fact, we can call him president of Côte d'Ivoire because he has all the army and is the chief commander-in-chief of army. But he's not a legal president according to democracy process. He's not a legitimate president according to democracy process too. Alassane Ouattara was put by force in Côte d'Ivoire presidency room. So what am I going to say now concerning the election in 2025? I don't think so. That I don't think that we can have election in Côte d'Ivoire. Why? Because like Dr. Eddy said, Ouattara refused to have a competition. He refused to have a president of PDCA there, Mr. Tidiane Thiam, ruling. He refused to have a president of PPRC, Mr. Laurent Gbagbo, ruling, who is ex-president. He refused to see Mr. Kibafori Soro Guillaume ruling, Charles Goudet, and whatever.
Yeah.
This time I'm talking to you now in Côte d'Ivoire, the Pan-African Party, who they call PPRC from Laurent Gbagbo,
Yes.
have his leaders invite in police now when I'm talking to you now. Before, 2 days back, he was inviting some leaders of the same party and PDC there too. Ouattara is playing bad line to refuse making election clean in Côte d'Ivoire. So I think that Côte d'Ivoire is not going to have election because the people now, tomorrow we have a big marches in a town we call Yopougon, and all Ivorian, many Ivorian for north, for south, for east, for west, and everybody was so angry against Ouattara that now everybody said Ouattara have to step down on the throne of our presidency. And how we see it can play with Côte d'Ivoire constitution law, how it can play doing one race, 2 race, 3 race, and now 4th race is upon our constitution. So all Ivorian is going to stop Alassane Ouattara because we think that he's a dictator, he's a wicked man, and he's someone we can't trust to ruling our country again. So that's what I have to say in the first talking.
Thank you so much. And if I understood you, you are very pessimistic about the materialization of these impending elections. Can you align with such a perspective, Dr. Eddie? Do you think that with the frustration or political frustration in Ivory Coast, pertaining the fact that key opposition figures won't be contesting this the elections, will lead to the Independent Electoral Commission, postponing the elections to ensure that grievances within, pertaining also the candidacy of whatever address to meet the aspirations of Ivorians?
Clarisse, you said something which, first of all, we need to debunk. You mentioned the Independent Electoral Commission. Is that commission truly independent? It is not. So that's the first thing we need to put, on the side, and then, make clear for people to understand.
Okay.
And the reason, the fact that this commission, which is in charge of running this important election in Côte d'Ivoire, is not independent. Some people, to make ironically call it a commission independence, not an independent electoral commission. And this is a key. Because of the lack of independence and the clear autonomy of this electoral commission, and it is not the first time we see something like that. Matter of fact, Côte d'Ivoire has had a history of creating an independent electoral commission, which in reality does not have, the full control of its destiny to play as a truly independent, actor. So because of this lack of independence, I doubt that, this electoral commission will be capable of, by its own, controlling the upcoming election to make way to, let's say, social dialogue, political dialogue, for the purpose or for the sake of reinstating those political leaders. That's the first thing I want to say. Mm-hmm. The second thing is postponing the election should be, if it is done this way, and what we have proposed at the Committee of Action for Côte d'Ivoire is a period of transition which will be the only guarantor or the only strict and a clear alternative which will guarantee that, what the stakes are, the stacks are cleaned, and and that, all those, the process itself is free and fair, and of course, impartial, as we'll say. And when I say the process, I'm talking about the election process itself.
Yeah.
Third thing that we want to mention in there, we should be careful of buying time. You see, the idea of postponing the election may also be an opportunity for the current regime in power to buy additional time.
Absolutely.
Because the idea of being pessimistic that my brother OKOSSISSI BABANICO mentioned is not something that we are talking about or mentioning just out of the bloom. There are substantiated facts to prove that this regime will not do anything substantial, positive, to move the needle toward having an election that is less contentious. Why do I say that? It's been 15 years almost since 2011. And from 2011 to 2015, from 2015 to 2020, and then from 2020 up to now, let us analyze and see where this regime has clearly yielded to the cause of the Ivorian people, men and women, and the electoral body in terms of creating the conditions for free and fair elections. It never happened. But then on top of that is the instrumentalization of the judiciary system, right? As long as we have that, as long as we have this flimsy judicial excuses that are used to exclude some significant candidates from participating in the electoral process, we have a problem. It is a matter of trust. And so to wrap up on that one, we wanted to be clear. There is no independent electoral commission in Côte d'Ivoire. By the way, this is one of the biggest failures, and I'm going to land on that one. It is one of the biggest failures in Ivory Coast political culture. Because if we all remember, why was an independent electoral commission created?
Absolutely.
It was created because before 1990, or before 2000, the elections were organized by the Ministry of the Interior, and the political parties at the time believed that the Ministry of Interior was conniving with the ruling party to guarantee, therefore, and to create some sort of credibility and trusting the electoral process. An independent electoral commission should have been created. This is what we were able to do, I mean, we being Côte d'Ivoire, in the year 2000, during the period of the military transition.
Yeah.
But Clarisse, let's analyze. Since we have created that electoral commission, which one of those elections from 2000 to up now were held for blood to be shed? Absolutely. But the election should be run for the sake of rallying people in Côte d'Ivoire. So I agree with all those who at this moment are very pessimistic that the election in October 2025 are actually going to be peaceful and bring in a positive, transition from power from one person to another.
And which is quite imperative. And I think that, like you've highlighted, elections are to serve the interests of the population. And I know Ivorians, even those who have been on exile from 2010 till present day, Ivory Coast actually anticipating the outcome of these elections to see that a new phase comes into power for them to regain, the freedom of returning to their country as the left due to political complications and the realities of that do happen when such a situation happens, like what we actually witnessed in 2010, 2011, that led Gbagbo and Blé Goudé to the International Criminal Court. And now when we listen carefully to the points advocated in our preamble, we now see that these political stakes in Ivory Coast are not just internal, but then they are being overshadowed by some external or proxy tendencies that now put both the electoral commission, both the incumbent president, and even the other opposition leaders, like the likes of Don Melo and others, coming to the presidential race at a 4 and in some sort of uncertainty. From a geopolitical perspective and with a new maybe alignment and shifting analysis with you, ARNAUD DEVELAY, how can the major stakeholders in Ivory Coast navigate this very complex and trickisher political sphere marking the 2025 elections in Côte d'Ivoire?
Well, I guess with caution and with guarded optimism, but also lots of realism.
Absolutely.
I have a note in front of me here which underlines the predicament in which Côte d'Ivoire finds itself. The head of the new Secret Service, French Secret Service, was in Abidjan late January. Some said he was bringing a wind of change with him, but it turned out that he was essentially replacing a predecessor by the name of Bernard Aimier. And Bernard Aimier had been, if anything, replaced by Emmanuel Macron himself because he had failed in preventing the venue of Goïta Assimi and General Tiani and Captain Ibrahim Traoré. So that tells you everything you need to know about how micromanaged the actions of the Ivorian government are by France. Essentially, there are military accords which are regulating the size of the army, the type of weapons the Ivory Coast army can possess, not unlike what we see in Lebanon. And suffice it to say that in terms of sovereignty, unless, and of course, there's the issue of allegedly trying to say that France is going to close a base, a military base there, but it seems to be perceived more as a facade to somewhat give some leeway to President Ouattara in as far as facing those people who might point out that France pretty much runs the show there. But no, suffice it to say, it is completely under the control of France, not unlike Lebanon, which is not allowed to have certain types of weapon to enforce and defend its sovereignty. Yeah. And again, as I was saying in introduction, unless you call into question those military accords and essentially, let's be honest, demand that France vacates all those bases, it's difficult to imagine how an election, whether it's via the negotiated via the so-called Independent Electoral Commission or the justice system, the reform of the constitution, there's 1,001 ways bothersome candidate can be carted away if they are deemed to not follow the line imposed by Paris and probably Washington by extension.
But now, given the reality which you just made mention in your analysis, ARNAUD, DEVELAY, I think we'll come back to that subsequently to better understand how the political dynamics are in Ivory Coast, further leading to vulnerability or polarization of the political scene of the country. Coming back to you, OKOSSISSI, we are talking about the discontentment of Ivorians pertaining of the candidacy of Alassane Ouattara, and in our preamble we highlighted some candidates that have been actually maintained. But then the question which I asked was, can we now see that should elections hold, if do we see a new Ouattara Melo contest that can be the team to bring about that drastic or radical change which will redefine the political dynamics of Ivory Coast? And if that is what Ivorians want, what do you think can be done strategically and diplomatically without ensuring bloodshed, which actually we see that those the lower population, those at the lowest level, usually suffer a lot from?
Thank you, Clarisse. First of all, it's very important to present and for Africans to know that Ivorian is not a people who like to fight or shedding blood. No. West African, generally, everybody knows how we like to play, how we like to like life, understand, to love playing, joking, this kind of thing. But saying that we are not going to put everything to sharing blood. Ivorians don't have this mentality, this spirit of fighting over everything. But the problem we have in Côte d'Ivoire is very important to everybody to know. Is Alassane Dramane Ouattara. I will repeat it again. The problem politics in Côte d'Ivoire have is Alassane Dramane Ouattara. Did I have to remember everyone how this man come to power? And since he started racing in politics, how many brutality, how many murder he commits? Alassane Ouattara in reality is a terrorist. Before medical supplies, Ouattara go ahead to ask UN to ask Press Army where the UN to ask Press Army where they call Post-Recon to ask ECOWAS soldier to fight against Laurent Gbagbo if Laurent Gbagbo refuse to step up. So he's the one who always sharing blood. It's not Ivorian, it's not our political people. Now, what are we going to do? If one person disrespect our constitution, one person refuse to play a true process to make the election. Dr. Eddie said it. The commissioner who organized the election is Ouattara partisan. Mm-hmm. Everything in concerning the election is captured by him and his regime. Ouattara don't give a space to another political party like we can call it opposition, fighters for anything. Mm-hmm. So I will say that now in Côte d'Ivoire we talk about Front Commun. Front Commun is association of PDC, who is a big political party, and PPRCI too. And they put on the place an organization they call Trop, who inviting every Ivorian, politics or not, every Ivorian for civil society to put together the hand to make Alassane Ouattara respect our constitution. That is the problem. That is a imbroglio of our matters. Ouattara refused to play democratic election. He wants to race again. He doesn't have the right to race again because our constitution don't accept that. Because Ouattara have an army with him, he have a mercenaries, he have a international committees like France with him. Ouattara think that is a god, and that's why all Ivorians back and giving Laurent Gbagbo all the support they can, giving Tidiane all the support they can, giving Sorogion and Mamba Simon Bagbo and whatever all the support they can to stop Alassane Ouattara racing in the fourth time. Yeah. So sharing blood is a Alassane Ouattara matrix. Sharing blood is a Alassane Ouattara manner to rule our country. Ouattara is a dictator. Ouattara is a tyranny. Ouattara is a terrorist. And Ouattara is a kamikaze. How can you imagine the whole Gbagbo himself, ex-president of Côte d'Ivoire, be accused to stealing in the bank? How can you imagine that Sorokiba for Guillaume, where the Alassane Ouattara number 2 will put in exile? How can you imagine that Mr. Tidiane, who is the PDCI leader, can push to be in exile? How do you feel if you are Ivorian and you can't use your right to go to election? Ouattara stop everything. Ouattara play. Nigerian will say wayo. Ouattara play take Ivorian like a stupid man, and he wants to pass by force to rule us in the first time. That's why you can see all the Ivorians are not agree. That is why now I'm talking to you. We have a match tomorrow in Abidjan, Yopougon, and tomorrow we have a meeting or a sitting in France, here in Place de la République, to say that we not agree for the fourth ruling Alassane Ouattara of the fourth raising to Alassane Ouattara. So it's in many contexts that we can show up and show all the African people through your channel, who is Pan-African Media, that I thank a lot, that the problem Ivorian has is the only man. And because the man is ruling for France, is a man is accept to be a slave for international committee, because the man wants to protect France and international committee business. We are just how can I say a thing to help this man steal our riches, steal our wealth, steal our money, and disrespect all the Ivorians. Ouattara comes in power by introducing a trouble, introducing the terrorism, introducing the rebellion, and Ouattara will go in this manner. That is a law of karma, and we are going to fight against Ouattara to stop him ruling us again.
I actually, we call for change, but not a change that will have a repeat of a scenario that led to the demise of 3,000 people. And we continue to note, ladies and gentlemen, that this is Global Insight, your discursive platform where we get to share insightful discourse pertaining issues affecting Africa and the global world in a more complex world of multipolarity. And our focus today is on Côte d'Ivoire, looking at the elections, the polarization, and the major stakes, both internal and external, and how to navigate this to bring positive change that meets the aspirations of Ivorians as they prepare for elections come October 2025. And let's try to analyze deeper into the real stakes in the country with you, Dr. Eddie, because at the end, I think we are here to widen horizon, bring about understanding, so as to enable the stakeholders that be in Ivory Coast and across the African continent to ensure, why not the international community, to ensure that there is no repeat of such a scenario in Ivory Coast. And it brings us now to the problematic which I still got from Mr. OKOSSISSI, Dr. Eddie. He highlighted that the problem of Ivory Coast, as far as leadership is concerned, is the personality of President Alassane Ouattara, whose role not just in Ivory Coast or maybe within the West African region, and why not Africa, has been very problematic in terms of diplomacy and geopolitics that seem not to favor Africans, yet favor the proxy with interest on the continent. But we see that we have identified the common problem that is largely external. Now there is a divided somehow opposition within. We are looking at the division coming from Gbagbo and other loyalists that now moved into some sort of independence, also wanting to be contest the top job. Now, with all of these controversies or discrepancies along the opposition sphere, how is it actually exacerbating or maybe creating a larger scope for Ouattara to maneuver his way or tactics towards having a favorable outcome come after the October polls? And then what advice can you give the political team or opposition team in Ivory Coast in line with ensuring meeting the objective of Ivorians, which is to see a change in leadership?
There is this saying that a house divided, of course, cannot stand, any attack from the outside.
Yeah.
Or as other people will say and chant, revolutionaries, that, a people united will never be defeated. And when people are defeated, actually, it's because they have never been united before. So there is strength in unity. There is strength in organization, as Amos Wilson, one of these psychologists, sociologists, Black American, will say. There is a power whenever there is and wherever there is organization. Organization means, a coherence. Cohesion means alignment of objectives, with what the people wanting in there. It is a true fact that for a long period of time, we have noticed in Côte d'Ivoire some sort of discrepancies and disunity among the different political parties that are sitting in opposition to Mr. Alassane Dramane Ouattara.
Right.
First of all, this should not be a surprise. Why? Because it is in the normal things, or in the normal order of things, to see that whenever people are being dominated, one of the strategies used by the dominant party is to actually work to disunite the groups that are opposed to them. And this can be achieved through what? Increase, impoverishment of the population. It can be done or achieved by a full control of the judicial, system, therefore leading to intermittent, arrest or incarcerations of people in the opposition parties and leaders. It can also be done by way of any kind of intimidations of oppressions. For instance, when you have a rally that is supposed to take place, first of all, on August the 2nd, I'm sorry, and now postponed to August the 9th. Prior to that, you have some leaders, political leaders, young leaders of these different political parties that are actually summoned by the police and the prefecture for questioning. All of those things are meant to create a fear, to intimidate people, and actually to suppress people's ability to participate in the political arena. All of those things are used. And let us not also forget that one of the tactics that the current regime in power of Mr. Alassane Ouattara has used was to freeze people's bank accounts. What do people do? When you are a head of a family, cannot feed your family because of your assets, your bank assets, were being frozen by the regime for whatever reasons, true or not true, are. All of those things, will end up, weighing on the men and women that run or lead the opposition parties. Of course, you have a multiplication of other factors that can lead very easily to people being discouraged. At the end of the day, having said all of that, we cannot blame all of those things, to Mr. Ouattara and his regime only. Absolutely. There is very definitely some points of disagreement. We have seen that, unfortunately, between President Laurent Gbagbo and his spouse, a staunch and great leader of Côte d'Ivoire as well, Simone Gbagbo and many others. And now we are also seeing that, from the ranks of his political party, the PPRC, as I would say, Mr. Awadang Milo is actually emerging to be a candidate. We see the same thing with the PDC here there. We have seen that before with the former Prime Minister Finguessan, who is at the helm of the Ivorian Popular Front. So all of those things, we should also not forget that within those political parties, even the one in power, you have people who can be in disagreements with the political line, with the political agenda, and they have the right by the Constitution to, of course, move out. The problem that, those opposes that you say will be, again, the kind of apparent or seeming division that can maim the effort of the opposition. Yeah. In terms of advice, one or two that I want to say. we should always remember this, that the highest interest is again the stability of Côte d'Ivoire, is again, and then by stability of Côte d'Ivoire will mean all of those people who live in Côte d'Ivoire.
Yeah.
The highest stakes in here is to make sure that no more elections are run in Côte d'Ivoire that result in bloodshed, that result in the destruction of properties, that result in losses of human lives.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we should also make sure that the end goal, as we talk about the unity among the political parties of the opposition, the end goal is not for them to oust somebody necessarily. Because sometimes we see that. Yesterday it was political party A plus political party B against political party C. Today it is A plus C against B. That should not be the end goal. The end goal is not ousting somebody and replacing them. The end goal is to replace an entire system. And that system is what? Who will be elected after all that we are doing that will drive Côte d'Ivoire in the same path of what? Revive the Pan-Africanism and revive ideas of rapturing the ties that we have with France and other Western powers and reinventing a society where we have, in this multipolar world or whatever it is, at a geopolitical level, that we are living in the world or in the country where France is not or should not be and should not remain our partner of a choice, but France should become one of the choices. We are talking about sovereignty here.
Absolutely.
So this election, what is at stake is that one. Mr. Ouattara will never guarantee any sovereignty for Côte d'Ivoire. But then does that mean that automatically all those who are opposed to him will guarantee that? The question is not necessarily yes. I mean, the answer is not necessarily yes. Absolutely, but the answer lies on the side of the people. People like, OKOSSISSI Babanicolo. People like you, Clarice, like me, like, the farmers, the workers, the agricultural workers who are toiling since 1960 for 65 years now. We've been saying that Côte d'Ivoire's economy and future rests on agriculture, but yet the cocoa farmers are still poor. If natural sciences or physics and science and chemistry, actually, Mr. Bisi Ping, who is trending on social media today.
Absolutely.
But his position is something that is very symptomatic of what is happening. You understand?
Absolutely.
Somebody who said, you have not paid me what you owe me as a salary for 5 years, and you want me to participate in an election.
Or to deposit 30 million for us.
Exactly. So this is what the condition should be, and this is the ultimate goal that should be looked for. So if I have an advice to give the opposition, yes to unity, but unity of purpose.
Indeed.
And what is that purpose?
Indeed.
Right? So that's, not to keep this mic for too long, what I wanted to share it in here. There's some other points, Clarice, I want to bring regarding the geopolitical analysis that you want to bring, but I will let you yield with other questions, because there are some important things that, we can actually talk about also. Absolutely. Regarding that.
In data, subsequently, we're going to look at the geopolitical stakes, how it's affecting Ivory Coast, and how it affected from 2000 to present stakes, and particularly how the scope actually increased on the election. Ouattara, Babanico, we still continue to talk constructively. The Ivorians, they want a change of leadership. And like Dr. Eddie highlighted, there is need not just for change in leadership, but to ensure that the system is completely changed in such a way that will favor the local people, that is Ivorians, while we continue to maybe the country collaborate with its external partners. Here we want to highlight the politics of rhetorics, which have not largely favored African continent. We want to use Ivory Coast as an example, where political rhetorics have helped to, to maintain the incumbent to the detriment of thousands of Ivorians. Millions of Ivorians seeking for change. I also mentioned earlier that there are still many Ivorians on exile waiting for a change in the person of, the person at the helm, so they can come back to motherland. Let's analyze how to navigate political rhetorics that will not put Ivory Coast and its impending elections between, the ruling party and the opposition. The word that I think you just said something now, which I think is problematic. Having a contrary view doesn't necessarily make you people enemies, but then putting the forces together tactically and purposefully, like Dr. Eddie highlighted, will help meet the aspirations or the objective of the entire people. Let's advocate the new Ivory Coast, the question, with a new political rhetoric that is tactical for the benefit of Ivorians.
Hello, Lady Cloris. Like I said before, Ivorians are not violent people. And what we are talking about is naturally in emancipation of Africa, who is being possessed for the riches and everything going to make African people rich and very in freedom minds and freedom statement. All those leaders, like Alassane Ouattara specifically, works against our people. They works for multimedia, they works for the big enterprise out Africa. Why the situation politics in Côte d'Ivoire is pessimist? Because the man who called himself Dramane Ouattara put in Côte d'Ivoire a brutality politic. He put in Côte d'Ivoire a terrorist. He put in Côte d'Ivoire a dictator who you can count on Côte d'Ivoire before, when President Félix Houphouët-Boigny was leaving, and after President Félix Houphouët-Boigny, President Arikona Mbedié, President Gbagbo. Between Arikona Mbedié and President Gbagbo, we saw a coup. Who Alassane Ouattara is behind the coup. After the coup, when President Gbagbo win the election, Alassane Ouattara called his partisan, his citizen, his follower in partisan, I would say, to go outside and start to fight against Laurent Gbagbo and his people. So the situation nowadays in Côte d'Ivoire is depend of how Ouattara bring brutality in Côte d'Ivoire. You talk about geopolitics. West Africa, today we can see Mali, we can see Niger, we can see Burkina Faso fighting to have a real freedom. You are not ignorant, seeing that the person who is against this freedom is Alassane Ouattara. Alassane Ouattara sent 49 soldiers, mercenaries in Mali to destabilize, to destroy Assimi Goïta power. After Mali, Alassane Ouattara sent people to Burkina Faso to try to put up on power Mr. Ibrahim Traoré. We are going to talk about Niger. What Alassane Ouattara involved ECOWAS with is to send soldiers in Niger to put back Mr. Bazoum on power.
Yeah.
So many actions from this man is a reason who West Africa is in destabilization totally, because So people who send Alassane Ouattara, people for using Alassane Ouattara destroy Africa is those international committees and France with the first contact with Alassane Ouattara.
Yeah.
Today, how we are going to see the future of Côte d'Ivoire is through stopping Alassane Ouattara. That's why when you had the question, and Dr. Eddy said that it's very important to put ourselves together, to be unit. Because without this united, we can't succeed to have a front against people who have the army, who have the mercenaries, who have some balls who they call micro, and killing people, pushing people in exile, terrorizing people. All of this action put together, the stability to West Africa geopolitic talking. You understand me? So it's not only Côte d'Ivoire who have a problem with Ouattara. The interest goes outside of the Côte d'Ivoire board. Now, if we fought to put outside Alassane Ouattara, Mali will be happy, Burkina will be happy, Niger will be happy, Cameroon too will be happy, because Alassane Ouattara making West Africa suffering, push East Africa suffering, Central and go on. So we are all friends. Today we have a serious problem is our leaders. Some leaders who start to come out front for us have on front those leaders who fought against them, and those leaders in West Africa, the only one, the wicked one, which one is Alassane Ouattara. So this political matters in Côte d'Ivoire is geopolitical too, because now we are asking for emancipation, we are asking for leadership, our leadership, we are asking for stop being a France or international committees bullshit. We are fighting to have our totally independence like Mali today, like Burkina Faso, like Niger, and like many countries in West Africa. You see, so we are going to this geopolitics matters, put out Alassane Ouattara with the system who put it in our country, and then make all Africa free, because Alassane Ouattara said to step up. Alassane Ouattara said that if he wants to make a first racing in Côte d'Ivoire, is because he has two challenges. The first challenge is economic.
Yeah.
When he say economic, what does it mean? It means that he have how they call it? He have a mission who international committee gives him. This mission is the Prasefa matters and the ECO matters, who was ECOWAS plan, who was ECOWAS idea when Ouattara still with Emmanuel Macron to change just a denomination of CFA and continue to rule Africa and steal our country.
Yeah.
Second step, he said that it is a military reasons. Military reasons and make Alassane Ouattara on racing another political presidency matters, is because Alassane Ouattara want to destroy IOS. Alassane Ouattara want to destroy the Confederation of the Sahel, because the Confederation of the Sahel goes in front to get our independence, and those people who send Alassane Ouattara is not happy with it. That's why Alassane Ouattara said that he had two reasons to him to bring again another racing, is economical reason and military reason, just to put us totally in the doom of those white people, I can say like this, sorry to my friend ARNAUD, and those enemies of the Africa, to make us always slaves and people who can just follow the process without trying to go out. Madam Lady Clarice, I would just say easily that in West Africa, the process of IAS makes us proud.
And
Absolutely.
once again, I take congrats for your media. But this fight will not be complete having someone like Alassane Ouattara, who is a soldier of international people, who is a leader,
a proxy leader.
What do you say?
I was like a proxy leader for France, like you mentioned, and all the countries, international countries, having real stakes in the country and the region as a whole.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. That. So we are going to fight, and I'll give you just a time to watch Côte d'Ivoire do it. We are calling, like Dr. Eddie said, all our leaders to be united, to put together the same revendication to make Alassane Ouattara outside of our country, because he's going now to make a violation of our constitution. He's going again to go out our constitution, because he have an army, he have an international support, because he have a France who leads him to do anyhow like he wants, without respecting our rule, without respecting our society, without respecting our politics, without respecting our future. That's what I want to say that problem, Alassane Ouattara matters in Côte d'Ivoire is a geopolitical problem too, because many countries are suffering from him.
Absolutely. And I think fighting is not physical fighting, but fighting tactically and purposefully, being optimistic.
That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely, fighting. Yes. That will lead us to the end result. I think with the new revolution across the African continent, it is imperative that leadership that puts the people first should be what we need at this particular moment. And I think that is why, the revolution across Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso actually gave birth to a new enthusiasm among African youths to be very engaged in the political lives of their countries, to be able to emancipate to full sovereignty. Coming back to you, Dr. Eddie, still on the political, geopolitical stakes regarding the elections in Côte d'Ivoire, and how this will affect not just Côte d'Ivoire, but the entire West African sub-region and African continent as a whole, should Ouattara regains the presidency after the October presidential elections. Let's identify, reiterate, because it has already been highlighted earlier by you gentlemen, but then it is imperative to get your own perspective, Dr. Eddie, on those major geopolitical stakes, the one which are very visible and feasible to the eyes of Ivorians and even Africans, and also those that are dealt with strategically and tactically, free or away from the eyes of the public, to the detriment of Ivorians.
One of the first things that I will point out here is the political system itself in Côte d'Ivoire,
Okay.
which is or stands in a clear and stark contradiction with the Economic Community of West African States protocol on good governance and democracy. So at the geopolitical level, let's look at West Africa. Not long ago, the neighboring country of Ghana went through an election marking certainly the 5th time, if I'm not mistaken, that political power shifts from one person to another through a clear, acceptable and accepted election process, regardless of any kind of potentials that where you may have surrounding all of that. So we went from President Jerry Rawlings, rest in peace, to President Kufuor, President Atta Mills, who's longer in this world, then John Mahama that was in there, Kufo Addo Atta, and now again, President John Mahama. In Benin, we have a younger president. At the age of 68, President Patrice Talon, who has clearly announced, with the support of former President Boni Yayi, that he will not seek a third term in office. Then you have what happened in Liberia.
Sure.
In Senegal, of course, but with some chokes here and there, they ended up having an election that also saw ended up with a political transition. Macky Sall never conducted or never ran or was not elected for a third term. This is the geopolitical context in West Africa. The type of West Africa that we wanted to see, where people, the ECOWAS of the people, wants political systems that veered toward democracy. When Côte d'Ivoire, which is a key player in West Africa, a key player in the ECOWAS political, economic apparatus after Nigeria, and I need to mention Nigeria also, right, in terms of those elections.
Yes.
So this is the political landscape that West Africans want to see. And what is happening in Côte d'Ivoire will contradict that. The simple fact that Mr. Alassane Dramane Ouattara announces that he wants to run for a fourth term is already a geopolitical catastrophe when it comes to West Africa's political stability. Number one. Number two, we are dealing with Côte d'Ivoire, which is one of the heavyweights economically when it comes to West Africa's economy.
Absolutely.
The country is, of course, endowed with natural riches, agricultural products, with a booming, younger population, okay? But also the country has been attracting a lot of investments lately, which of course created opportunities for people to steal. This is one of the things also that what we need to mention, and I will come back to that. So, with these economic giants that Côte d'Ivoire can represent in West Africa, what does that mean to maintain in there somebody who continues to applaud the utilization of the French CFA as a currency? Let us not forget that about 2 or 3 years ago, Mr. Alassane Dramane Ouattara almost led or misled the entire West Africa to adopt the ECO as the West African currency pegged to the French CFA and to the euro, which is not what was the hope. That's another geopolitical thing that we need to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Today, as we talked about the relations between Côte d'Ivoire or the stability in West Africa, countries such as Mali and Burkina Faso that have enjoyed long or decades of a good relationship with Côte d'Ivoire are today at odds. And this can have a detrimental impact for the entire stability of West Africa. And we saw what happened. Mr. Ouattara was among the head of state of West Africa that were ready to send in troops in either Niger, Mali, or Burkina Faso.
Yeah.
But we want a West Africa that is peaceful and stable. Not long ago, West Africa was the hottest sub-region in Africa with a massive circulation of light and mid-range weapons, as we can see. Do we want to come back to this? The answer is no. That's another dimension.
Yeah.
I did mention very quickly, Clarisse, the French CFA currency. And I wanted to also now talk about the role of the international community.
Absolutely.
Yes, we did mention that earlier that we have heard, right, of the let's say demobilization and the departure of French stationed troops in West Africa after they've been asked to leave Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Of course, they follow Senegal and they follow up with Côte d'Ivoire. Let's say that in the case of Côte d'Ivoire, it's a very odd situation. Why is it odd? It is odd because the government in Cote d'Ivoire has not clearly, firmly, resolutely ordered the French troops out, which means that the announcement that the French military base in Cote d'Ivoire is going to be dismantled or yielded back to Cote d'Ivoire is, in my own analysis, a big gimmick.
Yeah.
By the way, today, with all this technological revolution that what we have, a military base may not be necessary. Why? Because it will take maybe less than an hour for airplanes, missiles to leave one place to land to another one, if that's what what the French want to do. So, Clarisse, in ending your question in terms of geopolitical analysis, I have looked first of all as the idea of running for a fourth term itself. It is a danger for West Africa, for the type of political system that we want to see thriving in Africa. It is a contradiction that Nigeria, Benin, Burkina, Ghana, Liberia, and the fifth country that I'm going to forget very quickly in here, are moving to respect the two terms, when on the other side we have Cote d'Ivoire, the so-called economic giant of West Africa, not following suit. That is the first problem. Second problem. So, I already, it's not necessary for me to come back on all those things, but this is what I see. However, Clarisse, again, does it mean that other leaders, if not for Ouattara being elected and them winning, let's say in 2025, are they in the position, have they shown clear aptitude, desire, willingness to actually contradict all that I just said, to move Côte d'Ivoire on the path of a true sovereignty? That's where the big question is. But at least it starts with a change in leadership, because Mr. Ouattara has nothing else to offer Côte d'Ivoire if it is not for a government, a kleptocratic, a government that steals a lot of money. And this is something that we also have to investigate. And this money being stolen is circulating all over West Africa. It is helping to destabilize here and there, etc., etc. Or it is a question of cocoa. It is a question of our natural resources. You see, if you allow me to land on that one.
Absolutely.
A few years ago, there was a disagreement between Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana about some oil deposits. That's when President Gbagbo was in power in Cote d'Ivoire, and the President John Evan Atta Mills was in power on the other side in Ghana. The two gentlemen sat down and said, hey, listen, instead of fighting over who is the owner of that oil deposits, right, offshore, why don't we agree on exploiting that together for the sake of our population?
Absolutely.
That avoided any reference to the international court that is actually was set up to kind of resolve this kind of disagreement between countries, like in the case of Cameroon and Nigeria over the Bakassi Island.
Yeah.
But years after, when Mr. Ouattara came in there, that situation was brought up to that international court. Why? Because again, you have some big international interests, and I would say Western interests, especially French interests, behind pushing that this should be the sole property of Côte d'Ivoire, instead of making it something that can be exploited by both countries for the sake of their populations.
Yeah.
So there is a lot at stakes in there. We are not surprised to see that France is being quiet at this moment, but also we are even not surprised to see the United Nations. It is true that the United Nations, was sent a recommendation to have Mr. Thiam, part of the electoral list. But Clarisse, let's do a comparative analysis in here.
Absolutely.
It is that same United Nations, the Security Council, which between 2002 and 2010 and 2011, every single trimester, if you want, every single term, passed some sort of a resolution to put pressure on President Laurent Gbagbo. Where are those resolutions today? Why is the case now of Mr. Ouattara pursuing a fourth term not to be made a subject of one of those resolutions from the Security Council to increase, pressure on him? These are all the questions that people need to ask to understand again the political and geopolitical dimension of what is going to happen in Côte d'Ivoire in October 2025.
And of course, understanding will help those seeking the top job on where to lie or place their priorities. Coming back to you, Mr. OKOSSISSI, now we have understood clearly the geopolitical stakes, the political stakes, and even the economic stakes, and how susceptible Côte d'Ivoire remains with the current leadership. Should the current leadership emerge again victorious after the October polls? The question now goes to those contesting the post. Let's look at the opposition in contesting the elections and also ensuring that they conquer the incumbent Alassane Ouattara. In your perspective, what do you think likes like, Don Milo, we know Simone Bagbo, people who have been very instrumental, particularly in the former regime of then President Laurent Gbagbo, that ended up at The Hague due to his entanglement or being a victim of the geopolitical stakes, which Dr. Edi Youssef and ARNAUD has reiterated in this discussion. What challenge and how can these opposition leaders or political figures still on the electoral list do tactically to ensure that that cry that you and other Ivorians have regarding the change in system or leadership comes to reality?
I can just say that before Alassane Ouattara event, Côte d'Ivoire was working on having the emancipation economically, militarily, politically, and wherever on the world position. That is what bring the fight against Laurent Gbagbo, as you said. Now, within all Alassane Ouattara matters and Alassane Ouattara rulings, we go back on many years of fighting to have our emancipation, our independence. Today we say we are all independent. In the letter we write Independence Day, after Independence Day we are not independent. We depend always on those ex-colonized countries called the same France. We challenge those opposition leaders goes to put up after Alassane Ouattara. The first of all, Ivory Coast don't resolve peacefully our yesterday fighting. Since 2011, no one knows who is the real winner of the former election, because President Gbagbo said that he's win. That's what I that he's win, and Ouattara being fight. So first of all, we are going to use our power to push the politician after Alassane Ouattara to do what they call forum. And at the forum, we will use the forum to show up what happened yesterday. Secondly, we will use the forum to do how they call it, the national reconciliation. And third time, ask for justice. Even if we can give amnesty for some people, because Ivory Coast needs to remove this anger in the hearts to resolve this matter, to resolve this problem, to understand what's happened yesterday. That is the first challenge for those opposition like to say. The second challenge is to now watch the commission electoral system to know how we are going now to put on top free election, inclusive election, and whatever. All those process elections have to be watched cleanly before asking for another election. Third time is very important to our leaders to run inside all the Côte d'Ivoire areas to speak for real democracy, to speak for freedom, to speak for reconciliation, or to speak to say no more again between Ivorian and Ivorian, to say no more dictator like Ouattara was, to say no terrorists like we so far of. And third time now, put everything on top to show how we can go to now ask to every political party to go to do the election. So we have many challenges. Our challenge is not just starting to talk about currency of money, starting to talk about partnership. No. We have internal, very large, very big problem we have to resolve. That is the first of all those challenges we need to ask our leaders to do. Now, if we finish, we have to help those who was victims. We want to bring all the Ivorian in exile in Côte d'Ivoire. We have to bring out from jail those who was in prison. And it's all this challenge we are waiting for those political leaders. But now, after all of that, we have to renew our contract with those countries who, because of Alassane Ouattara, we lost the contact like Burkina Faso, like Mali, like Niger. Because officially, we have the diplomatic
alignment.
Yeah. Unofficially, our statement is not happy. I have to let you know that before some days now, one Burkina Faso activist called Alain Traoré was killed in jail and show up like he was hanging himself. So we have many challenges. But for the election now to finish, Lady Clarisse, Africans have to show up. Because when Laurent Gbagbo in 2011 was fighting against our constitution to take Alassane Ouattara as a challenger, African countries people was put off a hand in the top to ask Laurent Gbagbo to allow Alassane Ouattara to be candidate to race. Yeah. Now, the President Gbagbo and many leaders are suffering. And what we can see is a movement of African Union who can resolve anything. Is a movement of ECOWAS who can resolve anything. Is a movement of 2 weeks back I saw the UDI how they call it? The UDI asking Alassane Ouattara to help all those big leaders to rule to race in the political election. But from this day till now, nothing is done. Union African Justice asked Alassane Ouattara to give or to permit Laurent Gbagbo and Soro Guillaume to be in the racing of election. Nothing goes on. ECOWAS, who was ready to fight Mali, was ready to fight Niger, was ready to fight Burkina Faso, was now shut up and watching Côte d'Ivoire going ahead to be seeing people dying because Alassane Ouattara is someone who likes to share blood. So he don't have a power to discussion. He don't have a ethic to discussion. Everything he knows is we fight. If you know, if they don't want, I will oppose this thing, I will do that. Ouattara is not someone who can have a situation for freedom. He's doing everything by force. So what I'm saying now is all the challenge waiting for our leaders is upon our leaders to depend, like you said before, the geopolitics to our African leaders who is all together in ECOWAS. They have to seek what Côte d'Ivoire is going through. They have to follow this process and ask Ouattara to stop, like they did to Gambia. Remember when Gambia, Yaya Jammeh refused to go, they sent military to push out Gambia. Do you remember when Samuel Doe refused to discuss in ECOWAS, who pushed Samuel Doe to be killed by Johnson and Chancellors? Now we are to see with the news technical approachment with the media, like a African media, that everything happening in one country can be immediately in 1 second known to another country. Why those leaders are not going to help Côte d'Ivoire? This is why.
And that is where the problematic lies.
Yes, this is our ambroglio. When tomorrow we Ivorians will say no to Alassane Ouattara, and in between following the process of our constitution, we have to manifest, we have to strike, we have to have the marches. When Ivorian will say no to Alassane Ouattara, you will see Alassane Ouattara kill them, many people, and tomorrow we will say that this opposition who shedding blood. Who killed who?
And
working on the marching, striking is in our constitution. So, like in every country, people is free to say we are not agree, to strike and to do whatever to follow the process of democracy. But they are waiting now. Alassane Ouattara said, like Dr. Eddy said, he wants to rule a third time. No one is talking. No one is saying no. Yesterday, the former president of Liberia said that if ECOWAS allows those countries with those politics to do whatever they want, disrespecting the constitution, is the same problem those soldiers doing in Mali, in Guinea, in Burkina Faso, and in Niger. When they ask them to free the power to the people or to the citizen or to the civilian, and they don't in advance the president to respect the constitution. So, Lady Clarice, Ivorians are not going this time to accept what Ouattara want to force on it. We will fight. We will fight, and we will do what we have to do because it's our country, and we need democracy properly, and we need our freedom, and we need our emancipation against those forces who put Ouattara on our head without including Ivorian citizens and follow the process to accompany them. So that is what I'm saying to your question, that we have the challenges too. We have the internal challenge and we have the external challenge for political reasons. That's what I have to say.
Absolutely, yeah, and of course, in this unity, we move toward having unity. I will appreciate if you throw more light still on the question. Dr. Eddy Eric, looking at how, with all of these dynamics, which are very complex, the candidates facing Alassane Ouattara can navigate these political scene to having an outcome that will be favorable not just for Ivory Coast but for the entire continent. We also know that yesterday, that was the 7th of August 2025, millions of Ivorians celebrated their independence from France, but then it becomes so problematic and controversial to note that we are celebrating freedom, yet still entrapped in the whip of neocolonialism still coming from the former colonial power. A major challenge or stakes for the candidates contesting the presidency. How can they navigate this? It's all about having a better future for Ivorians and not for political, prowess of politicians.
Well, if you look carefully at the list of people who have declared the intention to run for the top position in Côte d'Ivoire, which is the presidency, you have some with clear affiliations, if I want to say that, or orientation towards, let's say, the BRICS countries, for instance. Mr. Awadon Melo, we know until his demise from the PPRC, the political party of President Laurent Gbagbo, was the person in charge of the relationships with the BRICS countries. I mean, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Which means that, for that person, hearing him speak, there is clearly an ideological shift that he tends or wants to propose to the electorate. This is one. Second, you also have, other candidates that are underlining, if you want, or underscoring the importance of Ivory Coast, sovereignty once they come into power. What honestly I am yet to see as a political analyst, but also leader of a political movement, is the clear, unwavering, orientation of a political discourse that will give and send clear pointers to the voters that once power is assumed, this is what they should be expected. Clarice, this is where the program of government or the projects of society or the plan, what comes into play. This is the first thing. And then we all understand, nowhere somebody or nobody is mentioning the fact that, Côte d'Ivoire should severe cuts, ties with all of those powers, especially with France. That's not the point. The point is to move toward this level of a relationship, whether they are diplomatic relationship, whether they are trade relationship, whether they are even social economic relationship, whether they are relations in terms of exchanges of ideas, exchanges of students, what sometimes we call, soft power, to what extent those can actually contribute to improving Côte d'Ivoire, number one, but also West Africa and Africa at large, how all those will improve our visibility and sovereignty in this geopolitical and global arena. This remains the major question. The major question. And it's the reason why I said earlier that what we are celebrating, or what was celebrated a few days ago, should amount to what I call a national holiday, a national celebration, being careful to calling it, the celebration of independence, because there are clear indications that, we're not there yet. So I believe that the first thing that people want to see, and the majority of the Ivorian wants to see, is again, elections that are run by the book, and the book being the constitution, the book being the willingness of the people of Côte d'Ivoire, elections that are free and fair, elections that are peaceful, elections that allow people to truly express themselves in order to put into power somebody who is not, I would say, who is not responsible before some foreign powers, but responsible solely before the people of Côte d'Ivoire. And I believe once that is achieved, it will be a good starting point to claim or reclaim the sovereignty of Côte d'Ivoire by realigning, adjusting the relationship that Côte d'Ivoire will have with its neighboring countries, number one, with West Africa, with Africa in general, and also with its international partner. I believe that, the moment has come that even international stakeholders start looking at this notion of partners of choice versus choices of partner. And I believe that that's where I will advise that, we put ourselves, that, Côte d'Ivoire, starting from 2025, if it is possible, start thinking of a choices of a partner instead of having friends as his partner of a choice only.
And we now ask who is the partner of choice for Côte d'Ivoire, and should Ivorian incumbent leave the baton of command with you concluding. Mr. OKOSSISSI, who do you think is that figure of that Ivorians need at this particular moment to, be free from the entanglement, political entanglement, diplomatic entanglement, social, economic, and largely geopolitical entanglement, which you have reiterated all through this discussion. So, in probably looking forward towards having a new Côte d'Ivoire, who is that figure that you think can lead the people out of the web?
In Côte d'Ivoire, the figure we need, I wish to see to lead us is President Gbagbo. First of all, because he is experimented to rule country. Secondly, because he fought against the system. Third time, because he is the one who can make Ivorian be reconciliate between them. Now, outside Ivory Coast country, our freedom depends on we Africans. First of all, our neighbors, our friends, our own organization, and third time, any country outside Africa who respect our rules, who respect us like human beings, who respect the politics we need to put under our, depending on our society. Today we talk about the BRICS, we talk about the European Union, we talk about all those organizations who run after the financial resource of our countries. But first of all, it's important to know today that the first power of Africa is in Africa. The second power of Africa is the united in Africa, and the third time to Africa to be proud of them, to go out of those time of wickedness against our color, is to trust ourselves and to work for our future, work in truly for our kids, our sons, and our grandchild. So the challenge now for Africa and for Ivorian particularly is to see the leadership that Laurent Gbagbo, because he show up for all Africa. He's not someone who we can discuss again that he's a real ruler. He's a real ruler, he's a great leader. And now he always support all those Africans who try to go up, like Ibrahim Traoré, like Assimi Goïta, like General Chani, and like others. He always like to Africans to show up and take their destiny in their hands and to put everything on ground for their own citizens. So I wish that Ivorian will stand up, will raise up, and we will fight to have the emancipation against the terrorists Alassane Ouattara and those external black eye who support him. So I have to thank you, thanks your team, thanks my senior brother Eddie, JAD, and naturally if our third one is not around, we have Maria and all my support to Pan-African with the intention to invite me in your channel.
Okay, thank you so much, OKOSSISSI, BABANICO, for your input, your opinion account, but we continue to talk constructively on this platform while avoiding insults that can be implicated, but then we remain very firm on highlighting the setbacks that countries or Africa is facing due to poor leadership or governance coming from leaders that have been used as proxy against its people. And we round off with you, Dr. Eddie. When I listened to the concluding, I beg your pardon, statement from OKOSSISSI, he highlighted Gbagbo, and I think it brought me again to a question which I will want us to analyze. Actually, being optimistic, we should be also realistic at the same time. When we look at the present state of affairs in Côte d'Ivoire, we will note that Gbagbo is not among the candidates vying for the presidency. Come October 2025, we also want to look at how we can allow some sort of polarization within political discrepancies of between politicians, but yet focus on the goal that would lead Ivorians to the new dawn or the new era. Let's try to analyze that with the present candidates that we have already declared running the October 25th, 2025 for presidential elections in Côte d'Ivoire.
Very quickly, as we near the end of this show in here today, Clarisse, starting by thanking you for the opportunity, but to come back to your question in here, we should not rule out the desire of many Ivorians, part of the electorate, to see a free and fair electoral process. That means that candidates who have been excluded from the electoral roll and therefore being prevented from running for the elections on dubious, very dubious, grounds, should be allowed to do that. Right, should be allowed to do that. And again, as we talk about, the stability of the country, we talk about the avoiding the same factors that led Côte d'Ivoire to chaos in 2010, for instance, and even in 2015 and 2020. We have to take all that into consideration. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing that I want to say. The second thing, who to rule the country matters. But more so of who to rule the countries, it is how the country is going to be ruled that matters even more.
Absolutely.
Because I am not going to put forth, and then I do respect, what Mr. The brother OKOSSISSI brought in here clearly, his support for President Laurent Gbagbo.
Yeah.
I'm not going to dispute that. I respect that position very well, which comes from his experience. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I will say this. To mark a little bit of disagreement with him, that I am more interested here in the how. The how means that once we, whether we are in the opposition or the Ivorian citizens, men and women, we have worked on a political system that is free and fair, we will see and observe that the who rules will matter less than how the person in charge is ruling. Meaning that the political context inside the country or within the country, the political context outside of the countries are key and critical things. If President Gbagbo is not on the list today, it's simply because somebody has decided to trespass, ride upon, and trample on the constitution of the country, which is the supreme law. But once we create a culture and we arrive at creating a culture in which the Constitution is duly respected as a sacred book, as the Bible, as the Quran, or as any other document that guides people's faith, I am sure that electoral processes will not be rigged and will not be filled with some controversial issues as the one that what we are seeing now. That being said, it will be a danger to say that because currently Mr. Laurent Gbagbo, Tidiane Thiam, Soro Guillaume, Blaywood Day, and many others are not on the list, let's go with the list that what we have in it now, with those who have been accepted or cleared to run. I mean, not yet cleared because the definite list is not out yet. But people like Wadon Melo, Simon Gbagbo, Asalete Moko, and all those who have declared their candidacy, let's stand with those one and move. It will be a very dangerous first precedent. Why? Because in the future, another president will manipulate, control the Independent Electoral Commission, the judiciary system, and we will continue to create a culture of exclusion of a candidate. It is happening in Cameroon as well with the exclusion of Kamto. I don't want to go that path. I will not advise that go that path. Those who want to continue to fight for their leaders to be enrolled in on the list, on the voters list, should continue to do that until the last day of the elections. In terms of who has the best profile, let's create the profile. Because in the past we have had leaders who said, yes, when I come, this is what is going to happen. Even the current regime. Let's go back, 15 years ago and analyze the discourse. Oh, living together, le vivre ensemble. We're going to do this. We're going to build, houses for people to have affordable housing. Where are we today with those? So it is one thing to promise. It is another thing to implement. It is one thing to see and put our faith in leaders, but it is another more important thing to put our efforts in building robust democratic institutions in which people will thrive more and more, regardless of who they are in society. And Clarisse, I want to land on this respectfully to my brother OKOSSISSI, BABANICO. It's the first time we have been in the show together, and I hope we have those opportunities more and more. And Clarisse, thank you so much for having us again for this other iteration of your wonderful program.
And thank you so much. Immense thanks to you, gentlemen, for giving this program a priority and giving your time so as to share insightful, constructive analysis that will help to widen the horizons of Ivorians, Africans, and even the international community to note that the revolution, of course, has hit the mindset, and people are beginning to see what is even invisible to the physical eyes, and that is why there is much optimism, which I'll borrow your words, Dr. Eddie, that we need to build the profile of the candidate that we need to see at the helm of Africa's. And just to comment briefly that if we can align with the vision aspirations of the African people, then we're going to build policies or make diplomacy or even geopolitical dynamics should be ones that will first of all carry internal agenda before looking at the external agendas that come with international relations, collaboration with all other partners. And I think hopefully that is what is already happening across the African continent, but we can also put our voice by ensuring that we put together platforms like Global Insight that permit a deeper and clearer understanding or analysis of stakes for a more constructive African continent that would define a larger scope at the international level, especially now that we are calling for the reforms at the United Nations Security Council, and also seeing that the continent detangles from the web of neocolonialism and be the master of its game, like ARNAUD always say in diplomacy, and even when high stakes are concerned, we needs to be very hard with the terms we use to be able to defend our agenda for the benefits of the population. Hopefully that we meet this objective to educate, inform the African people so that they can tactically, like the candidates that became very popular, patterning elections in Cameroon, to attain an objective that will not shed blood for the benefit of Africa. Ubuntu and Pan-Africanism. We pray that the political development in Ivory Coast and any other country across the continent holding elections should be one that will redefine the preamble and, of course, the internal objective of the country. Thank you so much, and do have a lovely moment in the company of our transmissions. Bye-bye.
Thank you.